TV times have been set for the SEC. A big time matchup is going to be played on September 26th between Tennessee and Texas. We talk about what time they're going to play and the marquee matchups during that weekend in college football. More coming up today on the show. All right, what's going on, everybody, man? We got live reaction to the slate. All right, SEC times have been announced for the top 3 weeks of the season, essentially. Okay, so this is major, right? And the major matchup, y'all know I covered both of these teams in Tennessee and Texas, right? So they're going to play each other this year. The Battle of the Orange, right? But this year is going to be at Neyland Stadium. Okay, so they're going to have to travel to Tennessee from Texas to play them boys. All right, so the game time has been selected. If you Central Time, which is Texas, it's at 11 o'clock. If you are normal time, like Tennessee, right, Neyland, Knoxville, it is at noon. Right now, this time is very interesting. I don't necessarily love it, in my opinion, because I think it's one of the marquee matchups. And to have it at noon just doesn't sit right. Now it's going to be played either on ABC or ESPN. ABC is usually like the high end window. ESPN's window is good too. It's under the same platform, but that is when it's obviously they're expected to play, right? Not like I said, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan. I believe this is a game you put 3:30, right? Now it's gonna be interesting to see what ESPN does because usually the Big Ten will put their game, right? So I do want to pull this up real quick for you guys to see that week in general. Okay. So of the marquee games of this week, I think is this one right here. This Oregon USC is gonna be that marquee game, right? Now, is that on CBS? Right? Is that on Big Ten Network? Like, how does that work for that game? Or will ESPN try to get it? Right? Outside of that, that's the biggest matchup during that week. Now, you got Nebraska, Michigan. Oh, no, sorry, I said Nebraska, Michigan State. Excuse me. Illinois and Ohio State as a matchup that could be potentially interesting to watch. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't live up to the billing of a Tennessee versus Texas, in my humble opinion. I feel like that game should be 3:30, and then you put Ole Miss, Florida, right? That's gonna be a hell of a contest. That should be, I think, that 12 o'clock spot, right? Or you could put Alabama, South Carolina, right? Any of those matchups, I think, would be really good for the noon window. I feel like Texas, Tennessee is a marquee matchup, right? You put that one at 3:30, whether ABC or ESPN. There's a lot of good games there. Like Oklahoma, Georgia is another. That one might be the 3:30 kickoff. You know what I'm saying? Or Texas A&M LSU, that could also be a 3:30 kickoff. You know what I'm saying? There is a lot of marquee games, but I think it's going to be hard to live up to a Texas versus Tennessee game, in my humble opinion. So I don't love the noon kickoff, right? And again, as we said, there is a lot of big time games during that day. I'm just not the biggest proponent and fan of the noon kickoff, right? I know it's a bunch of good SEC games and matchups. Like I said, South Carolina, Alabama, Ole Miss, Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas A&M, LSU. Those games are good, but I feel like that marquee game is Tennessee versus Texas. That game should definitely be played at a different time. But let's look real quick and react as we cover both teams. We'll go ahead and talk about some of their schedule, right? And what is interesting is so for Tennessee, they're going to start off with Furman, right? 3:30 on SEC Plus, ESPN Network, right? Then they play at Georgia Tech. That's the marquee matchup. I can't wait for that one. That one will be a lot of fun. 7 p.m. kickoff for Coach Heupel. Probably the start of Faison Brandon and everything that he's going to be able to bring and do and bring to the table. So that'll be a very intriguing matchup. And got Georgia Tech that pretty much for Tennessee fans that are wondering, they redid their entire roster, right? They redid their entire coaching staff as well. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, right? And They also brought in Alberto Mendoza, Justice Haynes, Jalen Mbakwe. So this is a new look team, right? You got to see how good Alberto Mendoza is going to potentially be for this program and for this team, right? But if you're Tennessee, you know you got a new look team, new look roster. Jim Knowles is your defensive coordinator. You're expecting that defense to be a lot better. Hopefully things pan out with Chaz Coleman and all that stuff is behind Tennessee now. You can focus and lock in, but you got a lot of great players. Jalen Parlati, Braden Rouse, Tyler Redmond, right? You got a really good safety back there as well. So like if you Tennessee, that's going to be a good barometer test early. Some people like try to crap on the ACC, but that's going to be a major matchup to watch out for if you're a Vols fan, right? Because you want to kind of see how you match up, right? And Georgia Tech's being slept on. We talked about in another video, like their ACC rankings is crazy. Number 12 is wild, right? I think Georgia Tech would be much better than that. But that's going to be a really good barometer test, in my opinion, for Coach Heupel and company to see kind of where they're at, right? Then you play Kennesaw State, smooth, pretty good team in the Conference USA. I think they had 9 and 10 wins last year, so they're going to be ultra competitive. You know what I'm saying? But Tennessee, you should be able to handle business. But Kennesaw State is not a sleeper, right? And then obviously Texas, as we just talked about, noon, right? And again, I just feel like that's a marquee matchup. You put that for 3 to me. I know you got South Carolina, Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Florida. I get it. But people want to see Texas, Tennessee. That's going to be a marquee matchup. All right. Then they got Auburn, flex game. We'll see what happens, kind of how the slate goes. Arkansas is also a flex. Alabama is also a flex for the Tennessee Vols as well. Then the afternoon game is going to be set pretty much for South Carolina, so they should be playing in that 3:30 spot. Night game against Kentucky. I don't really understand that unless it's a rivalry, but that one being at night, that'll probably end up being SEC Network unless Kentucky's good this year. Then another flex game against Texas A&M and the Aggies. You know what I'm saying? LSU is also a flex, and then at Vanderbilt will be a night game, big-time in-state rivalry between those two Tennessee programs, okay? So that is Texas side of things. Tennessee side of things. So how the schedule looks, the flex, all that type of good stuff, okay? That is how things are looking. And as I said, for the people that are trickling in now, I don't love the noon kickoff, right? I don't love it. I feel like this game should be 3:30. I know you got Alabama, playing against obviously South Carolina. I know you got Georgia versus Oklahoma. I know you got Texas A&M LSU, and I know obviously you have Ole Miss in Florida. But I just feel like this is a game should be in that 3:30 spot. Okay, so that's first and foremost. But now let's pull up Texas real quick. Another team that I cover here on the channel, right? Mark your calendars, Longhorn Nation. Key kickoff times and TV windows have been announced. Okay, so here is the Texas Longhorns. We'll go ahead and like and retweet all this. I'm gonna go ahead and follow them as well while I'm at it. And real quick, I'm gonna put on their post notifications real quick. Yeah, because I'm gonna be covering a lot of Texas football. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. Those is watching. Okay, so this is how it starts off, right? They're gonna play Texas State. 2:30 p.m. kickoff, ESPN. Right, that's basically 3:30, Eastern time. 6:30 against Ohio State. That'll be 7:30. Marquee matchup, must-see TV, must-see game. I'm gonna discuss it later on my show that I'm gonna obviously premiere and everything a little bit later on tonight. Right. All right. So they got that one. Then they got UTSA at 7 p.m. So a couple, cupcake games to start. The Ohio State's the big one. That's gonna be a big marquee game. RPI, SOS, strength of schedule. We're going to see what that looks like for Texas, right? And then obviously we know they're going to play against the Volunteers at noon, or basically 11 a.m. Central. Then they have Oklahoma, right? Neutral site. We know that game's always played in Dallas. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, I'm excited for him. I'm excited to see what LeJon Mateer is going to look like in hopefully a rebound year for him. Hopefully a year where he can get better. Hopefully a year where he plays at a higher level, right? He looked good to start. Remember, he's in that Heisman conversation. And then he got hurt, and things just kind of fell off a cliff, right? So that game's always good. Oklahoma, Texas, you can't beat it. So I definitely plan to watch that one, and I plan to stay tuned and be able to see what happens there. They're going to have an early game against Florida, right? Very interesting. I think last year might have been night, if I'm not mistaken. But early game against Florida. They got a flex against Ole Miss. That'll be another intriguing matchup between Ole Miss and Texas, especially with the words that Coach Sarkisian had to say about the Rebels and basket weaving and all that good stuff. So that'll be a fun one. That would be a home game for the Longhorns. Then you have Mississippi State. They're going to have a night game. They're going to play them at night. Very interesting. That'll probably be a 7 p.m. kickoff, probably ESPN, or it could be 6:45 on SEC Network. We'll see what happens there. Early game against Mizzou. Not too surprised there. That gives me 12 o'clock, ratio in what I'm thinking. flex game against LSU, right? I mean, y'all remember a few years ago, I know it was 2019, but that was a monster game between those two teams. Now in the same conference, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Sam Ellinger. That game was bananas. So hopefully we get another nighttime kickoff for that one. I would be excited to see that. That would be a lot of fun, to say the least, man. And then Arkansas for afternoon, probably going to be 3:30. And then we know it's going to be a night game between them and Texas A&M, that big time rivalry. And for Texas, a big time win. You know what I'm saying? Last year for them, right? Pretty much kind of spiraling Texas A&M out of control a little bit, right? It's a team that started the season off 10-0, right? Looked good, right? And then things kind of just fell off a cliff a little bit for them. All right, so that is Texas's window. Okay, that's what they're going to have going. Excited to see what that's going to look like for them this upcoming year, right? But as I said, for me, I just think the 12 o'clock kickoff for this game, I don't love. I think that could have been a lot better, in my humble opinion. Okay, but nonetheless, Texas, Tennessee will be played, as you guys all know and can see, at noon. Y'all comment down below that's watching this video, this live, what you guys think of this. I wanted to go almost into the other SEC games, but I ain't gonna do that. I made this one specifically, Texas, Tennessee, and my live reaction to those two teams playing on September 26th. So I'm gonna keep it there. All right. But as always, I appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Hype up this video, man. I'm gonna have my show that's gonna premiere a little bit later. But I want to do a live reaction to this being announced. Obviously, two teams I cover very heavily on the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And remember, it is always peace and love.